Jackass sitting in my pre-booked seat? No problem. No problem at all. My country's trains have a slightly infamous issue with people wrongfully taking seats that have been reserved in advance. When you book a seat, and you always get to pick your seat when booking online, your name, or reservation number, if you want to stay anonymous, gets displayed over your seat. There were some issues with the reservations not coming up properly, which eventually got resolved, but people got used to the chaos of having to duke it out to get your correct seat. In response, the railway company started introducing customer service agents. In reality, these staff are part ticket inspectors, part security. This story takes place about 1 week after these agents were introduced. So I boarded my train, returning to the city I live in after visiting my family for the weekend. The train was about halfway along its route, and there were a lot of empty seats. This is important. When I arrived at my seat, my name was above it. I found it occupied by a dude about halfway through a 6-pack of beer. I told him that was my seat, and asked if he could move to one of the many unoccupied seats on the carriage. He refused, and started cursing me out of it, saying he got there first and I could sit in one of the unoccupied seats. Generally being a bit of a bastard, throwing his empty cans out into the aisle. At this point, I could have given one of the customer service guys a heads up, and have them persuade the guy to move to one of the empty seats. But honestly, that didn't feel satisfying enough. Cue PettyRevenge. Looking above his head, I could see that the seat next to him was booked from 3 stops down the line. I also knew that 2 stops down the line was when most commuters got on the train. I plonked myself down in the other pre-booked seat directly next to this dude rather than sitting in one of the unreserved seats. The jackass in my seat settled back down with his cheap beer and started blasting music from his phone. 2 stops down the line, the train fills up completely. Standing room only from then on. The stop after that, the lady who booked the seat I was currently sitting in got on. I explained the situation to her, and together we grabbed one of the customer service dudes. I got my seat, the lady got her seat, and Jackass got to stand outside the pisser for the 2 hours left in the journey. Patient execution always seems to have the best results. Bravo.
Be quiet on my red eye or be humiliated in front of half an airplane. So I'm on a late night flight from NYC to Salt Lake, traveling home after visiting family for the holidays. The flight was landing in the early morning hours, 1 a.m.-ish, so I was trying to catch a nap before I had to drive another 2.5 hours from the airport to actually get home. Boarding was exceptionally slow that day, so I and the people nearby had been sitting in our seats for close to half an hour and we hadn't even started to taxi to the runway. Everyone is either settling in for a nap like me, or setting up to quietly read or otherwise occupy themselves. Because it's the middle of the damn night. Now, let's introduce our characters. Me, tired traveler who wants nothing more than the sweet neck cramps from a fitful airplane nap. Wholesome granny, delightful little old lady who just wants to put on her reading glasses and finish her Nora Roberts novel. New Jersey bro, dude who apparently spent his entire Christmas and New Year's trying valiantly to get alcohol poisoning. Loud New Jersey girl, basic bitch whose hobbies include binge drinking and self-tanner. For the record, I know douches come from all 50 states. New Jersey does not have a monopoly on assholes. I just mention it because they both had particularly grating Jersey Shore-style accents. Bitch had a voice like the nanny and the accent of Janice Soprano. So our seating arrangement was thus: left side of the plane from window to aisle, loud NJ girl, me, and wholesome granny. Right side from aisle to window, NJ bro, some poor bastard trying to sleep. And a snoozing middle-aged guy who apparently can sleep through the apocalypse. So, from left to right it was loud NJ girl, me, wholesome granny, aisle, NJ bro, poor bastard, sleepy dude. So apparently NJ bro decided he fancied Ms. Self-Tanner from Newark. So he strikes up a conversation. They realize they have some college friend in common, which leads to a discussion about partying over college break. Now, I partied in college. I probably also had stupid conversations about it. But my conversations never occurred while leaning across multiple sleepy air passengers on the fucking redeye at volumes that could drown out the jet engines. Loud NJ girl is essentially screaming in my ear, and wholesome granny looks vaguely horrified at the loud discussion of various debaucheries. At some point, everyone in the back half of the aircraft has now heard about Jaeger bombs on New Year's Eve. Everyone. Including my poor, exhausted self. People are uncomfortably looking around with increasingly angry expressions. Everyone wants to be polite, but everyone is getting pissed off. I exchange a few piteous glances with poor wholesome granny. I realize that if nobody tells these fantastic fratty partiers to STFU, I will probably get no rest and fall asleep at the wheel when I drive home. Good times. So I should mention that I'm very awkward. I once apologized to a woman on another airplane after she hit me in the face with her Kate Spade bag. Standing up to a stranger isn't in my DNA. But as a chronic insomniac, I value my fucking sleep. And after 30 minutes, even I had had too much. So I turn to my right, look at NJ bro, and say, loud enough to drown out the screeches of sorority friend Drescher, I will switch seats with you if you use an inside voice for the rest of the flight. Please. You can have my seat. For a brief millisecond, there is silence. NJ bro freezes in his seat and turns red. Loud NJ girl scoffs and makes some outraged sound. Oh geez, I think. Did I just sound like a total asshole? Then, glorious laughter. Every passenger who is awake within 10 rows chuckles. More scoffing from loud NJ girl. NJ bro has the grace to look embarrassed, and says okay quietly. We switch, so he's now between NJ girl and wholesome granny. At least they're together now. I settle in, and then the woman in the seat directly in front of me turns around. It's a younger mother with 3 kids, a toddler, a lap baby, and an older kid absorbed in some cartoon on an iPad, wearing headphones because she isn't a sociopath. She says I have 3 kids, including a baby, and she's never made as much noise on a plane as those guys. A few more chuckles. They do quiet down somewhat, though poor wholesome granny's peaceful reading of her book is occasionally interrupted with laughter that sounds like a parrot trying to imitate an epileptic chimpanzee. At one point, I hear giggling and see loud NJ girl trying to stealthily take my picture from behind the in-flight menu. Since cell phone cameras cannot penetrate opaque laminated cardboard, it's pretty obviously not stealthy when I see the flash. Though my awkwardness makes me panic at this point, I realize that being shamed as a bitch on Instagram by someone whose personality consists of apple teenies and dropping ecstasy probably isn't that tragic. When we land, NJ Brody planes with a red face and a bowed head. I get a priceless glare from NJ girl. Life is good. But wait, there's more. I ran into someone I knew at the baggage claim. I know, it sounds ridiculous. But it happened. So I start chatting with her and rant a little about the total douchebags that sat near me, leaving out no critical detail or unkind thought. We laugh. I see my bag, pick it up, and prepare to return to the most distant of economy parking spaces to drive my totally badass Toyota Yaris home. And when I turn around, I see the NJ buddies. It's clear they were standing close enough to hear every word. I make eye contact, awkwardly trip over something, and stumble off to glory. Edit, holy shit guys, I've never gotten gold before. Thanks. Edit DOS, here's another one for your edit enjoyment.
I realize that being shamed as a bitch on Instagram by someone whose personality consists of appletiness and dropping ecstasy probably isn't that tragic. As brilliant a sentence as I have ever read. And seriously, who cares if they heard you? They deserved it. Some people have zero self-awareness. I had neighbors that lived downstairs from me practicing lines from some play or movie, 2 actors. It's 12:30 a.m. and they are basically yelling at each other. I go down and knock on the door. Oh, are we being too loud? Seriously, it's a quiet building in a quiet neighborhood and at school night. Shut up.